Welcome to A Leader's Journey, the podcast for leaders who deeply believe there is a better way to lead and desire to create their unique journey towards becoming a legacy leader. I'm your host, Shannon Hammond. Over the last 20 years as a corporate leader and leadership performance coach, I've learned that many leaders believe there is a predefined path they have to follow and struggle leaning into their unique gifts that will create lasting impact and fulfillment. They end up feeling stuck, unhappy, and unfulfilled in the day-to-day of their role, and are challenged with why, since they have experienced success in their career and in life. I'm here to help leaders think through their leadership journey, learn how to ask themselves better questions, and learn the formula to create their leadership journey by design. If you are ready to design your unique leadership journey, lead with confidence, and love the teams you lead, then you are in the right place. Let's do this. Hello, my friends and fellow leaders. I'm glad to have you back here with me this week on the podcast. And if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. I am so happy that you are here. I know that your time is valuable, and I really appreciate you spending some of it here with me today. Now, today's episode is going to probably be, I loved all my episodes of the podcast, but I dare to say that this one is probably going to be one of my most favorites because it speaks to the book lover in me, that little girl that spent a lot of time at the library and read the encyclopedias for fun. Because today we're going to talk about reading. Reading is crucial for leaders because it contributes to our personal and our professional growth. It allows us to connect with different perspectives and learn from mentors that we may never be able to connect with face-to-face or one-to-one. So today I am going to share with you why I believe that reading is crucial for leaders. And I'm going to share with you my top 10 book recommendations. So I'm going to share my top 5 books that are specific for leadership development and my top 5 books just for general personal development. And again, these are my top 10 books. I have read every single one of these, several of them multiple times. I would recommend these for anybody, especially for leaders, really for anybody. So if you have high school or college age kids, share this episode with them. They need to read these books. Share them with your spouse, your friends, your family. These are books that I really feel like will impact and change your life, regardless of the path that you choose to go down. Now, for me, I highly recommend picking up a paper book, reading it, highlighting excerpts that stand out for you, flagging pages, making notes, and reflecting on what you've read. We could all use some more non-digital experiences in our lives, and I firmly believe that you actually retain the information better when you're reading that paper book and you're making reading a very active learning process. Now, I also know that paper books are not for everyone. So if it's not for you, I do still feel like it is important that you implement reading in the best way that works for you, whether that's audiobooks, e-readers, however it is that you choose to consume that information. Just pick up books and read. Reading has changed my life. It's a passion that I had ever since I was a kid. My mom was an avid reader, although what she read is not something that I read today. Her favorite author was Stephen King. She's read all the books. She owns all the books. Not my cup of tea. However, she really did reinforce reading for us. And so this has been something that I've done ever since I was able to read as a young child. My grandpa read to me at night, every night when I was a kid, before I knew how to read, and I would memorize the stories so I would catch him when he would try to shortchange or skip some of the pages. But reading really, again, it's something that can change your life. It's a great way for us to learn. And so I want to talk a little bit about why I believe that reading really is crucial. Reading really does expand your knowledge. It is one of the best and the easiest ways to learn something new. You can read on your own time, whenever you want, wherever it is that you are. You can do it in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, set a minimum number of pages. It's very flexible and can be fit into any lifestyle that you choose to live. Reading is very accessible. There's no commitments to sitting in classrooms or being at a specific place at a specific time or really investing a lot of money in it. Reading really is affordable. Now, you can make reading really unaffordable if you are just buying a whole bunch of books and not doing them, but there are ways that you can make reading a very affordable task. It really is. If you go out to the library, you can get books for free, right? You don't have to invest any money into reading because you can check books out at the library and give them back. Just please don't write in the books if you do get them from the library, right? Um, it's also a very short-term commitment per book when you think about it. Books are usually 100 to 300 pages. If you read 10 pages a day, you can finish a 300-page book in a month, or 300-page books in a month. And you can personalize that reading curriculum to specifically what you need to learn. You don't have to follow a set curriculum that somebody else put together that more than likely probably includes knowledge and experiences that you already have and isn't an area that you really need to focus on. There might be one aspect in an entire 20-week curriculum that you really need to invest in. So reading allows you to expand that knowledge and create that personal learning journey for you, where you are the things that you need to learn and know, and cater that to how it is that you live your life and when reading fits into your specific lifestyle. Reading also enhances your decision making. There is a wealth of knowledge that is out there in reading. And through that, you get access to case studies and real life experiences of people that have been there and done that and have gone before you. You get to hear about the things that worked and didn't work for them, that you can then take out the bits and pieces that fit for you in your particular career or life that you can try, and you can say, no, I know that that part doesn't work for me, but let me pull these two other lessons out of it, and this is going to help me make a better decision going forward. I can think of several books where I read them and I was like, ooh, that saved me either a ton of money from not investing in a class that I didn't really need because I got that knowledge out of a $15 book, or it wasn't something that really was going to fit exactly what it is that I was looking for, but you get that shiny object syndrome. And through reading, I've been able to really enhance and change some of the decisions that I've made, and it's made me a more effective and a more confident decision maker. So if you're stuck in how to make decisions, there might be some specific books about decision making that you might want to read that might help you do that. Reading also is for leadership and personal development. We need to continue to invest in our growth just as humans. We are designed as people to have a strong desire to learn, to grow throughout our life. If you think about it, when you started out as a little baby, you maybe weighed like, I don't know, 6 pounds, 21 inches long, I guess. Not an area of expertise for me, but as I think about it as an adult, now I'm 5 foot. I definitely weigh more than 6 pounds, right? Like, so we're designed to grow naturally, physically, but also mentally. When we are young kids, we're learning how to write and spell our name, and now we're learning different things as an adult. And that's where reading can come in. It helps you get to learn from those experiences of others. You can pull out some really valuable frameworks and strategies that you can implement into your life based on where it is that you are, or into your leadership. Maybe there's something specific that you have that is a challenge that you're going to face. You can pick up a book, read it and be able to pull out some strategies that you can actually implement that might help you. Again, we're naturally inclined to grow and develop as humans, and reading is a great way for us to continue to invest back in us. And if we're not growing, we're staying stagnant, and nobody wants to stay stagnant. So read to help keep yourself growing. Reading also reduces stress. Now, I know some of you that are maybe not avid readers. You might sit there and say, "Well, Shannon, no, reading for me stresses me out." I'm going to challenge you on that to really take a step back and think through, does reading really stress you out? Or have you not wrapped your head around how you best read and how you can implement that habit into your life that really makes sense? Reading gives you kind of that mental break from everything else that is going on, and it can be very relaxing. You hear a lot of people, "I'm going to take my book and go sit out at the pool or go sit outside or curl up on my couch in front of the fireplace in the winter time." Reading can be a really relaxing activity. You don't have to read just leadership and personal development books. There's a lot of fantasy and storytelling books out there. Um, One of my favorites, and I'll be honest, I haven't read all of them, um, but I do like Harry Potter, and being able to read the Harry Potter books, it kind of gives you a break from reality and everything else that's going on, and I can step into the world of wizardry, right? So there's lots of other choices out there that you can really just give yourself that mental break from having to be that responsible adult, that responsible leader, step out of everything else that you have going on and really immerse yourself into the story that is behind the book that you are reading. All books are stories, even if they are very tactical. There's still a story behind that. And when we invest in, or when we step into that story, that's naturally calming for us. So find one, the theme of books that works for you that is calming. For me, I'm definitely not going to be like my mother and step into the world of reading Stephen King. I think he's a fantastic storyteller, and one day I hope to be half the writer that he is, but his stories are not going to be relaxing for me. They're not going to reduce stress. So find the topic or the genre that really speaks to you, and when you are reading something that you are passionate about, you are going to naturally be relaxed and less stressed. And as a leader, it kind of goes with some of the other things that we talked about why reading is crucial. Is it's investing in your growth, it's helping you make better decisions. It's expanding your knowledge, and that might take a weight off of maybe some big decisions that you need to make, or some situations that you have to face that you're really worried about navigating. Finding the right book for that particular situation might help reduce your stress and anxiety around being able to step into it and face it. The last reason that I'm going to share with you about why I think that reading is crucial is it helps us as humans really get innovated and start thinking more strategically. Reading can help spark a lot of new ideas for you as you are learning what others have done. You'll be able to connect with what you're reading to what your current situations are and figure out how you can elevate them or how you can resolve them. I know that every time I read a book, I walk away with not only strategies that I can implement, but new ideas come from it. It sparks a level of creativity and innovation in my brain that helps me think differently from how I'm just naturally created and designed to think. And it generates ideas of things that I can take back into my personal life, that I can take back into work. Or it helps me think more strategically if I'm reading a book that is a bit more tactical in nature, that they are giving me specific strategies that I can implement. Not only can I take those and implement them, but I can use that kind of model or framework of how they developed their strategies to maybe create some other strategies that I need that best support me in my life. So, those are 5 reasons why I think reading is crucial. And I could sit here all day and tell you why I think reading is important because, again, I absolutely Love it. And it is a passion of mine. And there are tons of reasons why it is that I think reading is crucial and why it is that you should develop a habit of reading. But I'm going to stop there because, again, I don't want to get on my soapbox and tell you all the reasons why you should read. I want to get into the meat of it. And again, I want to share with you 5 books that have impacted and changed my leadership and have changed my life. And again, several of these I have read multiple times, or I will go back and I will just open the book and say, I know I need to connect with this particular topic. So I'm just going to open the book wherever it falls. I'm going to read a few pages. And inevitably, it's the message that I needed to hear because I was trusting my intuition and going back to it. So, the first 5 books that I'm going to share with you are going to be books that are really focused specifically on leadership and leadership development. I'll share with you the books, who the author is, and I'll just give you a couple of reasons about why it is that I think this is a book that should make your book list. All right, we're going to dive in. My first one, and this one has an updated version, and I'm so glad that he has taken the time to reimagine the book or go back and make some updates. This is the very first book about leadership development that I read, and that is Developing the Leader Within You. It's now 2.0 by John Maxwell, and you're going to hear his name come up several times in my book list, just so you know. This book, again, it changed my entire viewpoint on leadership, and leading starts with leading you. If you can't lead yourself, you can't lead others. And we are taught in some ways how to lead ourselves. And then we get out into the work world and things shift a little bit, and we need reminders of ways that we need to be leading ourselves. And in this book, John goes into how you can develop the leader within you. And he talks about different things like priorities and character and creating change and problem solving and serving people and vision. Again, this is a must read for anybody that is in a leadership role if you've never picked this book up. And if you don't read any of the other books that I recommend, you need to read this one. Pick it up on Audible if you have to. Pick your preference. I can't recommend this book enough. If people ask me for one book recommendation, this is the one you're going to get. Because this one has been that impactful for me. I have read it multiple times, at least 3 that I can recall over the last 20 years of leadership. It will change your leadership. I think that, and this is my personal opinion, if you're going to get promoted into a leadership role, that's a requirement for you to even be eligible for promoting into a leader role. That's how strongly I feel about that book. Okay, pick it up, read it, Developing the Leader Within You. Again, we need to figure out how we lead ourselves in order for us to be effective at leading others. All right, my second one, again, from John Maxwell, it's The 5 Levels of Leadership. And this is another book where he has come out with his 10th anniversary edition, and I picked it up. I've heard about it before, but I never really read it. I've understood some of the concepts. I heard it in talks that he has shared, but picking up and reading the book was so eye-opening for me. And within this book, he talks about proven steps to really maximize your potential as a leader. And he goes through the 5 different levels of leadership, which are positional, permission, production, people development, and the pinnacle of leadership. He talks about different laws that apply towards leadership, and they're his laws that he has created. Beliefs that are going to help you continue to move up to the next level of leadership, what each of the different levels mean. And going through and reading this really helped me see where early on I was a positional leader. We all are. That's where all of us start. However, we are striving to get to that 5th level, that pinnacle level, be that legacy leader that really is accomplishing everything that we do by developing other leaders. So Five Levels of Leadership by John Maxwell. That is leadership book number two. Leadership book number three. This is a very old book that was written over 80 years ago. And that is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Everything in life, much less leadership, is done through how we interact with other people. You can't lead if there's nobody following you. You can't lead if there aren't other people around. And how we influence people really makes a big difference in how we show up. It makes a big difference in how they show up. And again, this is one that I've read a couple different times. I loved it so much that I even bought a page a day calendar one year that was about the different concepts of this book because I wanted that daily reminder of the different things that Dale Carnegie talks about as he goes through his book, right? He talks about how to get people to like you, how to connect with and build those relationships with people. He talks about winning people over to your way of thinking and how you do that through your influence of them. He talks about how to be a leader and how to change people without being offensive or creating resentment in that relationship. I think this is one of those that I put it under leadership because leadership is one of my passions. And again, if I think this is a requirement that every leader needs to read before they get promoted into a leadership role is reading this book. This is a life skill. This is one that I would recommend to teenagers, high school kids, college, before you get out there and you start interacting with people. You need to know how to do that. You need to know how to, as he puts it, win friends and influence people. Everything that we do in life is done through relationships, and you need to be able to influence others in order for you to be able to achieve your goals and to be able to help others achieve theirs. All right, the next book that I want to recommend for leadership is another book by John Maxwell. It is The 21 Indispensable Qualities of a Leader. And this one is a little bit of a smaller book. It is 151 pages, but what I love about this book is he talks about 21 different qualities that are critical of every leader. And each quality that he shares is written as a chapter. So you could take this and read this over the course of 21 days and just read about one quality at a time and really dive into how is that quality showing up for you? What does this look like in your leadership? As he discusses each one at the end of each chapter, or close to the end of each chapter, he gives you like a takeaway and some things to think about and how you can implement that quality into your leadership. And some of the qualities that he shares, and I'm not going to go through all of them, they're character, competence, courage, generosity, initiative. I love this one because it's just, all of his books are very simple and easy to read. This is probably one of the simplest, and it's just because of the way that he structures it and making it, and he wrote it in a way that makes it very consumable. So if you are not a good reader, or reading is a new habit for you, this is a great one to start with because you really can consume it in very small, manageable bites. I feel like if I look at it, every chapter is like 5 pages, and they're small pages, right? So like it's a really small book. So it's something that if you're looking for a great place to start and really build your habit of reading, that's a great place to start. And you're going to get some great content about being a leader. All right, the last one that I have that is specific for leadership books, or I'm putting under the category of leadership books, and that is The Power of Positive Leadership by Jon Gordon. I really love the way that Jon tells stories through his books. All of his books are based on a story. He writes them in such a way that is so easy to read. This sounds kind of weird, but I really like the font that he uses in his books because it's very easy on the eyes. And I find that a lot of his books, they're very quick to read. And I think it's because he is such an engaging and motivating writer. And within the power of positive leadership, he talks about how and why positive leaders transform teams and organizations and change the world. And he talks about building relationships, leading with optimism and positivity, how you can create a united and connected team. He talks about creating and sharing a positive vision to help motivate your team and keep them engaged, and how to drive positive cultures. So again, this is another one that if you're looking for a great place to start with a book that really is easy to read, The Power of Positive Leadership by Jon Gordon is a great place. So those are the top 5 books that I would recommend that are specific on leadership. And while yes, they are specific on leadership, anybody can read them. So if you're listening to this or you want to recommend the book to somebody who isn't a leader, you can. There's still life lessons to be learned, because as I shared in one of the very first episodes that I did of the podcast, episode number 2, we talked about what is a leader. Everybody is a leader, because everybody has people around them that they influence in one way or another. So those are those top 5 books. Now, if you're looking for something that is just more general to personal development, again, I still think these apply to leadership. These are my top 5 books that are just based on general personal development topics, if you will. And again, I have 5 of them to share. You're going to hear one author come up again, and I'm not going to apologize for it, because I do love all of his books, but he's not going to be the first one that I share with you. So from a general personal development perspective, the first book that I would recommend is High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard. This one it's a big book. It's a lot of information that's in there. It's one that I've read this one a couple times as well. And you really need to take the time to read it. I've listened to it on Audible, or actually not through Audible. He recorded it and posted it up on his podcast at one point. I believe that's taken down now, but I have listened to it as well as reading it. And really, he talks about the personal and the social habits that make you a high performer. So if you are striving for something in life, these are the habits that you need to have. And the habits that he shares are seeking clarity, generating energy, raising necessity, increasing productivity, developing influence, and demonstrating courage. And then he talks about how you sustain them. And I have found that really investing in those habits and finding ways that I can consistently incorporating them into my life, which is the definition of a habit, that really connecting with these has made a huge difference. It's what's brought me to where I'm at in my leadership journey. It has helped me a lot in my personal circumstances in life, and not going down the path of making decisions that I know didn't support the vision that I had for myself. Seeking clarity really was kind of the first habit, because you do need to get clear on what it is that you want in order to continue to build the right habits that support that. But really diving into that and getting clear on where I see myself personally and professionally, it's been life-changing. And so I highly recommend this book for anybody. Again, it is a little bit of a longer read. It is, I don't know, it's probably closer to the 350 page mark. Take your time through it. That's one that you're definitely going to want to have maybe a notebook around or a highlighter by it in the physical copy, because you're going to want to make notes. He's very tactical in some of it, shares some really great things that you can implement. All right. Personal development book number 2 that I recommend is The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. I've read this one twice as well, and he really talks about how you can acquire the secrets of success and really get everything that you want, and that's all through your thinking. There's a lot of great quotes from this book that I have pulled and that I have shared with many of you, whether on the podcast or in my Facebook community. It's really all about how it is that you are framing your thinking. we are conditioned to really think small, to play small in the world. And playing small doesn't get us where it is that we need to go. We need to be thinking big. We need to be thinking more and further out than it is that we naturally think. Um, how we adjust our attitude, making sure that we're in the right environments and around the right people that support the big thinking that we have. How you can use your goals to really help you grow and not just check a box to say, hey, I did this. So this is going to be on my reading list again for 2025 sneak peek, because I do think that that is that impactful of a book. You're going to see a theme in this next one, but it is another John Maxwell book, and it's called Thinking for a Change. You know, how we think really impacts a lot. I've talked about this before on the podcast. Our thinking impacts how we feel, our feelings impact our actions impact our results, and so it all starts with thinking. And we really need to focus on our mindset and what are the thoughts and the stories that we are telling ourselves. And in this book by John, he shares 11 ways, he calls it 11 ways highly successful people approach life and work. And there's a quote that is on the front that I love. I love quotes, but this one from Ken Blanchard. He says, if you want to go places you've never been before, you have to think in ways you've never thought before. And this book will teach you how. And John goes into the different ways that you need to be thinking differently, right? And that starts with really understanding the value of good thinking, realizing the impact um, of changed thinking, mastering your process about thinking, encouraging social thinking, embracing the lessons of reflective learning, unleashing the potential of focused thinking, and enjoying the return of the thoughts that you have. Again, I think this is one that I do like the way that John writes. He writes in a way that's very relatable for many people, regardless of where it is that you are. And I made many notes in writing this book. He gives you some questions to contemplate as you go through it and teaches you how it is that thinking can change your leadership and your life. All right, personal development book number 4 that I'm going to recommend in my top 5 is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And this is an older book. I think it was written in 1937 was the year that it was published. And I've read this one a couple times as well. You would think, well, how is a book that was published over 100 years ago almost relevant? I will tell you, it is like he knew exactly where we would be in the world and the things that make you successful. And Think and Grow Rich isn't necessarily about money. He does talk about um in the book there is a section where he does talk about how you can adjust your thinking to make money, because let's just be honest, we need money um, in the world to be able to buy things. But he really talks more about how your desires, your faith, your decisions, your persistence, the power of being around other people and being in that mastermind type environment that again impacts your thinking, which impacts your results, which impacts the actions you take, or impacts your feelings, which impacts the actions you take and the results that you get. Um, there are timeless principles out there, and a lot of the things that I have learned about life have really come from books that were written back in the 30s and 40s. If you think about the things that were going on in the world back then, um, things were really hard for people in that generation. I think back 1937, my grandfather was 4 years old. So there's a lot going on in the world, and this really is a timeless book. This is one that my coach highly recommends, that she learned from her mentor, and is a really great way for you to start shifting the way that you look at things and shifting the thoughts that come up for you and how you can really achieve your goals in life. All right, the last one that I want to share with you, and I want to tell you the title of this book. At first, you're like, "Ooh, I don't know," but bear with me as I tell you what it's about. Don't get turned off by the title of the book. This book is called Psycho Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. This is another one that my coach had recommended to me. It is updated here recently, and it really helps you tap into your subconscious mind. And if you've noticed, all 5 of the books that are on this list, they are about your thinking and your habits. Habits are all about thoughts that you have, and really how it is that we think. It is the great changer in your life. And really, in this book, what I appreciate about it is he really taps into how you can improve your self-image. We see it all over. I hear it in many of the conversations that I have with employees at work, with fellow leaders, my clients, my friends. We really have a poor relationship with ourselves and how it is that we see ourselves. We don't always see ourselves in the best light, and the stories that we tell ourselves sometimes are really horrible. Like, we need to start talking to ourselves like we love ourselves. We need to start seeing ourselves as the amazing, incredible people that we are. And this is one of those books that will help you do that. Again, he talks about how you can improve your self-image, how you can learn to use your positive past, even some things that have happened to you that maybe weren't positive or you didn't view them as positive in the moment. There are lessons that have set you up for the person that you are today. Talks about setting and achieving worthwhile goals, self-respect and forgiveness, power of rational thinking, and discovering the keys to lead a more successful and happier life. I've only read this book once, but I've gone through different pages of it as I've gone throughout the year since I've read it, and this is one sneak peek that's on my must-read list for 2025. So those are my book recommendations, my top 5 for leadership and my top 5 for personal development. And as I'm thinking through this, I want to share a bonus book with you because it's one that I've just recently finished reading, and actually I listened to it on Audible. And I'll be honest, I don't know that if I would have purchased the paper book that I would have gotten through it, because it is a little bit of a heavier lift. It is eye-opening. And hit me in a way that I wasn't expecting, although I have heard others share the same, that it's one that really did help them take a step back and really look at their life completely different. And that's The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying by Bronnie Ware. I am grateful that I picked it up on Audible. I did buy the paper copy because I fully intended to read the paper book because I love paper books. But I'm trying new things, and I'm finding different ways for me to read, to consume content, and also not bring as much clutter into my home because I love books, and so I tend to buy a lot of them. And so while I did buy this one in a paper copy, stepping into leveraging Audible to listen to a book first before I buy it, knowing that more than likely most of the books I'm going to read multiple times. So if I really like it on Audible, then I will buy a paper copy, because there have been some books that I've bought the paper copy and they just didn't resonate with me, and that's okay. But in this book, I'm glad that I listened to it on Audible because it forced me to get through some of the hard parts. There were parts of it where if it was a paper book, I probably would have put it down and walked away. I tend to listen to books if I'm listening to them either while I'm out on a walk or while I'm in the car. And in those two circumstances, I'm less likely to log back into my phone and turn it off. I'll just let it keep going. And I'm glad that I did, because it pushed me to step into it. It is a fantastic story. It is a heavy lift, though, because she talks about her experiences in being a carer for people who are facing the end of their life. And maybe I think it hit me differently because I am midlife for myself. I've lost some key family members and facing the loss of another one that I know is coming up soon. And you get to that point where you don't want to regret. And when you hear the regrets of other people, that's hard, right? You connect with them emotionally, you hear their stories. But it's one that I highly recommend because I do think that it will force you to step into looking at things differently. So I'm just going to leave it there. That's my bonus book. So I guess I have 11 books that I'm going to recommend to you today. So as I've mentioned before, don't just read the books. I think reading is important. However, don't just read them and be done with them, put them on your shelf or donate them and let that knowledge go to waste. You really need to study them. Read them more than once. Highlight important passages and sentences. Flag pages that you know that you're going to want to come back to. Transcribe any notes that you've taken from your books. These books will change your life and your leadership, but you have to do the work. And the work is really studying the concepts from them. Look for one thing at least in each book that you are then going to go and take action on, that you are going to implement into your life that will shift your thinking, or maybe it's a new habit that you pick up, or it's a new quality or a characteristic that you're going to really choose to embody and embrace. Don't just read it, put it down, walk away and say, well, I read it. That's checking a box. And we're not here to check boxes. We're here to learn, grow, and live life with excellence. So find ways that you can implement. If you've got to go back and read the book again because you read through it the first time and you can't think of anything that you want to extract from it, read it again. There's lessons in every book that you read that you can implement, and the implementation of what it is that you read, that's how you make reading effective for you as a leader and as a person. So I'm curious to know, of the now 11 books that I've shared, which of these books have you read? Or which of them will you read either this year or putting on your book list because you're going to pick them up and read them next year? Connect with me. Go into the show notes, jump into my A Leader's Journey community on Facebook, share with me there, connect with me on LinkedIn, share with me. I'm curious to know which of these books that you've read or that you will read. I'm also curious to know, what would you add to the list? Are there books that you have read that really impacted your personal development or your leadership that maybe I didn't list here? There's a lot of books that I could have picked from, but these are definitely my top 10 that I would recommend to anybody. So what would be the book or books that you would recommend? Share those with me as well, because I'm curious. If I haven't read it, it's probably something that I want to pick up and maybe add to my reading list for 2025. Reading for growth and development is critical for everyone, and especially for leaders. Top leaders are readers. They are consistently investing in their growth and development, and reading is one of the best ways that you can do that. So I appreciate you tuning in this week and spending some of your time here with me. I hope that you found this episode valuable and that you choose at least one of these books that you are going to read this year and invest in you as a leader. Until next time, my fellow leaders and friends, lead with confidence and show up every day as the leader you are striving to be. Thanks for listening to A Leader's Journey podcast. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you're excited to learn more, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and tune in next week for another exciting leadership lesson. I'd love to help you level up your leadership, achieve the goals you desire, and design your unique leadership journey. So click the link in the show notes to schedule a free Level Up Your Leadership session. During this time, we will define where you are in several key areas of leadership, where you desire to be, and how you can level up your leadership. You don't need to do this alone, so let's chat today and get your journey started. Don't forget to connect with me on LinkedIn or in the A Leader's Journey community on Facebook, and share this episode with another leader so we can all learn and grow together. That's all for this episode, and I'll see you next week. Until then, lead with confidence, show up every day as the leader you are striving to be, and make the decision today to level up your leadership this year.